Yes, thank
I
you.
can see it, yeah.
So I'm just going to go through mostly basic information, how to add a site, how to add a collection, and then how to put together a pool and submit a pool for testing, whether or not you're doing it with the state or in-house. So the website for this is az.vectorsurv.org. But today we're actually going to be working in the sandbox. So sandbox.vectorsurv.org is a temporary webpage, and it resets every Sunday morning. So everything that you do in this isn't saved. So you're not actually creating sites that aren't there. If you don't have a login to this, to ArizonaSURV, I don't know, do they reach out to you, Irene, or do we need to reach out to?
So if you don't have a contact within your local agency that can add you, then yes. Or if you need a brand new agency account, then yes, you reach out to me. But if you have someone within your agency, then that person is able to add anyone else within that agency as a user.
Okay, and so maybe that's, if I don't have an account, let's see where that takes us. Okay, I know, yeah, we can figure that out. You can reach out to us if you need help getting access, and we can figure it out from there. So
Yeah.
logging in. So to add a new site, so you have all these tabs up top. So adding a new site will bring you to this screen. Depending on what agency, if you have multiple agencies that you're a part of, you'll have a drop down here. So make sure that you're representing the right agency. This will tell you what agency you're representing. And then for the site code, you'll want to pick something. It'll auto-populate. It's a 6-digit number, and you can pick something that's correlated to a site name that you have, or you can just go in order. This box over here will actually show you what sites are available. So I have some sites that need replaced, and then I have 28 through pretty much infinity at that point. So for this, I've actually already put a site in for this presentation. So I'm going to put in 101, and it will put in the extra zeros that you need. For site name, I like to use the first letter of the county that you're in, plus whatever site number that I have. You could name your site whatever you want. It can be a location, any way that you can best identify where that trap's going to be. For this, I'm going to put P for Pima County and site 101. Coordinates, this is going to be, you'll want exact coordinates of where the trap's going to be located. If you know those latitude and longitude, you can input them. If you don't know, but you know where the trap is, you can go to map. And we'll put a trap at the University of Arizona. Go to satellite view is a little bit easier, and we'll drop one at the stadium. So you can click, just left click here, and it'll actually drop that location. It'll input these latitude and longitude from that. If this isn't working, or if you have another way to find the location that's a little bit easier, you can actually use Google Maps. In that same spot, if we're going to drop the trap, say in this location, left click a point, and it gives you these points here. If you click on it at this point, it'll actually pull it up here, and so then you can copy and paste from this location. Sometimes on Google Maps, it can be frustrating because if you drop a point, it actually will auto geolocate to a different area. It'll pop up those coordinates. It's a little bit more cumbersome to deal with it here. You can click on it to copy, but then you'll have to paste because it's copying both longitude and latitude, so you'll have to paste and delete. But if the map feature in ArizonaSURV is working, it's the easiest thing to use. So once you have those coordinates, elevation, You'll have to input that manually if you have it. It will only pull elevation data if it's associated with the maps, which it usually isn't associated with Google Maps. So if you have that manual information, if you're pulling site location with a handheld GPS at the actual field site, it would be nice to have that information present. For the address, again, you can pull that from the map. So you can actually get that address. You can copy it from here. You can put in U of A football stadium, paste the address. It was 85719. County, and it's in Tucson. So now you have exact coordinates and you have a your address information saved. For surroundings, you want to put in whatever surroundings best represent the habitat that's around it. So for this area, it's a school environment. You could even, if there's a category that's not represented here, you can put other. Now this actually has football stadium in it for some reason. You can put other, and then you can fill that in here. I'm going to select football stadium. I'm not sure why that got saved in there, but if you hold down control, you can select more than one of these categories. So you can do school and football stadium. Population classification, this is in an urban environment. So we'll mark that. Again, classify is only going to work if that data is associated with the map, if it's geocoded into the map. And then any kind of comments that you want to associate with this site. We'll save that site. So now, as I said, I created a site prior to this as well. So we'll take those two sites and we'll actually act like we trapped. So in order to record a trapping event, we'll go to arthropod and abundance, new collection, and then actually backing up really quick. So trap type, you can actually set these. When you initially click on this, it will have a huge list of basically all traps that are available, that have ever been made. So if you go to arthropod and config, if you want to try to streamline that to make your lives a lot easier, you can streamline the available species that you could potentially be encountering, as well as the trap types. So these are all the trap types that would be in that drop-down list. If you know that you're only going to be using a handful of traps, such as a BG Sentinel or an EVS trap, you can select those. That way, those are the only options that pop up. So you don't have to filter through these massive lists each time. Same with available species. This is going to have everything, all species known. So if you know that for Culex specifically, if you only have a few species in your area that you run into all the time, you can select these so you don't have to continually go through this massive list each time you are recording your data. So for a new collection, we're going to say we set a EVS style trap. And then for the lure type that you're going to use, most people are going to be using dry ice for it. If you have a secondary lure of some kind, such as a BG lure, so a hormone lure, you can hold down control and select that, and it'll tell you over here which lures you're actually using for this trap event. For the collection date, we'll say that we collected it yesterday. You'll set the number of traps at that location and the number of trap types. If you do have more than one trap location at this site, you want to move your coordinate precision to approximate as opposed to exact. So if you have a trap 10 feet away from your coordinate location, that kind of thing. But we're just going to do one trap for one night, and then we're going to use these sites that we used. So P100 is the first one that I created. It auto-populated where that is, so that trap location is now associated with this collection. Identified by is going to be the person that identifies your mosquitoes. So put that person in there. This box is auto-checked for a trap running without any problems. If you did have a problem, uncheck that box, and you can put in the comments that when you arrived, the fan wasn't working, the trap was stolen, the net was missing, any kind of issues that you have to preserve your data would be good to put in this box here. And then we get down to what we're actually catching. So for this trap, let's say we caught some Aedes aegypti and some Quincke fasciatus. For males, you can put in, you can record the males. It's important to put in all the mosquitoes that you caught, even if it is a, say you caught some Anopheles franciscanus, something that we know isn't going to be vectoring anything, or floodwater mosquitoes, but go ahead and record all mosquito species that you catch. It's good to have that data to find out what species are where. It's also good to find out that if a virus does move in that franciscanus can transmit, we now have data on where that mosquito is located. So it is important to go ahead and record all the mosquitoes that you catch. So we caught 10 males. We'll say we caught 60 females. You can actually sort by reproductive status here. So if you know that the females are unfed, if they're blood fed, if you can see the blood in the abdomen, or if they're full of eggs, you can put those numbers in here. A lot of agencies will just use it as mixed because it takes a lot of extra time to find out exactly what the reproductive status was. So mixed is fine. For Culex Quincke fasciatus, say we got 100 females, and then we got one of each of franciscanus. So this is going to total all of your female mosquitoes, which could be the potential vectors, and the males. So this is all you have to do to log your trap, and we could save the collection. But if you're going to test these mosquitoes, it's actually a lot easier. It'll be easier on you if you log these as pools now. So once you go into the pools, again, you can see in this green box over here, this tells you the next number of pool that's available. So we'll start with pool 6. We'll test our Aedes aegypti. They're mixed females, and you only want to put 50 in a pool. So since we have 60, we're going to have that first pool is going to be 50, and then our second pool is going to be for 10. And that represents everything that we collected. For the Culex, same thing, we have 50, so we need to do 2 of these to represent everything that we collected. And so now we have 4 pools that we're testing. We're not testing the franciscanus because we know that it's not going to be transmitting anything. Now we're saving this collection. Once that's submitted, it automatically repopulates a new form based on the trap that you used previously and the lures, as well as the trapping date. So if you're doing multiple traps in one evening with the same trap style and the same lures, it becomes pretty handy because then you don't have to keep filling all that information out. All that you have to do is you have to pick your next site. So we'll do P101. Identified by stayed the same. Let's say that we caught 3 tarsalis. And we could even do like a Saurophora. And then again, we want to test those tarsalis. Our next pool is pool 10. Mixed females. And we only had 3 of them. So we're just going to test 3 of those. And feel free, I see some of the messages popping up. Feel free to just yell at me. It's on a different screen for me. What was the question? If you have it, let me put.
Yeah, no, it's Jennifer was just sharing that. Oh wait, she was sharing about how she collects the longitude and latitude. And then wait, the last question is, why would one select to do 51 tests and 10 in a second test instead of 30 and 30, or dividing more evenly?
You can absolutely do that, and that would actually be a little bit better for running it. If you have that ability to do that, you can do that. 30-30 won't be as crammed in the vial. So yeah, if you have that option, that would be a better thing to do. You can see that as I filled this out, it actually came up with the next line, so it auto populated the next available pool. We're not going to use that because we only have these vectors that we're testing. So we'll save that collection. And so those are the two traps that we set. We'll now go to arthropod and pools, and we'll do go under testing, and we're going to do a new submission. So if you're testing in-house, there's a radio button here. You can mark that as in-house. If you're sending it to the state lab, you mark it as ADHS. Irene said that the state lab will test Egypti, but we don't want to overwhelm them with Egypti. So you can send some Egypti for testing to the state lab. It might be good, the Egypti that you don't save, if your facility has the capability to keep them in a freezer to preserve them in case something down the road does pop up, you can go back to those samples and have them tested. So if you're using a ramp test and you're only testing your Culex mosquitoes for West Nile, then you can send your Egypti. So we'll go ahead and we'll mark these Egypti to be sent to the state lab. So you can see that this one, this radio box here is for Egypti mosquitoes, so Zika virus, chikungunya, and this is for the Culex box. So for these two Egypti, we're going to select this, and we're going to send those two pools to the state. So we create a new submission. That goes to the state, and so now you can get those samples to the state, and they can then get into ArizonaSURV and record the test results after they test them. If you're going to do these tests in-house, we'll go ahead and mark the in-house button, say you're going to do a ramp test. If you are going to send these to the state, again, you would just mark ADHS, and then you would select the West Nile, the Culex radio buttons. But say you're going to do a ramp test, you're going to include these three. We'll submit those pools. Going back into pools after they're submitted, we will, and after you've tested the mosquitoes, we'll do two new test results. The nice thing about doing those pool submissions is if you didn't do them, you would have to input line by line. So if you set 50 sites, you would have a whole lot of stuff to input line by line. If you associate them with pools, you can batch load all these pools, so it makes your life a lot easier. So we're going to, so 3 and 4, the first two that I did were the Aedes aegypti. We sent those to the state. 3 and 4 are the Culex. So we're going to do a test date of today, test method. You have PCR on here and your ramp. So say that we tested these ramp, and then these are all the target viruses. If you're testing for West Nile and St. Louis encephalitis, those are actually at the bottom, so you can select both of those at once. But for ramp, we're just going to say that we tested West Nile, and everything was negative. And then we're going to load those pools. And you can see that those pools loaded right here. For the next one, we're going to do the same test date. So these should be our Tarsalis, ramp, test target, West Nile, and we'll mark them as negative for now. And I'll show you how to go back through and verify all of that. Okay, so we save those, go back into our pools, manage test results, and this shows us everything that we just tested. So 8, 9, and 10 are the ones that we tested. We sent these to the state. If we click on view on these, it will actually show what the target was, and if it was negative. Say that you did have a positive here, you can go into edit, you can mark this one specifically as positive, save result, and go back to the manage, and now you can see that one is flagged as a positive for West Nile. It will turn red, and this column will highlight if you do have a positive virus. Irene did say that if you are using RAMP, to go ahead and send positive samples, your first positive samples, to the state for confirmation. Irene, you don't want them each time, you just want the very first of the season?
Yeah, and I think that's something that we have not done in the past, but I remember having conversations with various people, and because sometimes there is some variability with the ramp, I think if it's possible to confirm at least the first positive at the state lab, I think we'd like to do that. Yeah.
Okay, and so if they do mark the positive as in here under their self-testing with RAMP, I don't know how it would get logged again for confirmation from the state, if you want it logged again, or if I guess you technically don't need to if it's just confirmation, but I guess we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Right. Yeah, I'm seeing that maybe in the system doesn't seem like it's done for. Oh, it has the option like additionally.
I guess if the state provides confirmation, then it doesn't need to change. If it's not confirmed, I guess the organization can always go back through and remark it as negative.
Yeah, we can probably do the confirmation kind of manually.
Okay. And that's those for Aedes aegypti. Again, the state's going to have access to these. If you wanted to test your aegypti in-house, it's a little bit more cumbersome because you're testing multiple things. Let me show you. So 1 and 2 were aegypti. Say you're going to do that with PCR, and you're testing for dengue. Test status is negative. You would load those pools. You would save these results, and then you would have to go back in and do it again. If you're testing for, say, dengue, chikungunya, and Zika, you'd have to do it each time for each virus. There isn't a combination virus for those. I don't know if maybe they can set that up, because that would be handy, kind of like they have for the West Nile and St. Louis encephalitis. If they had a dengue, chick, Zika, that would make things a little bit easier, so you don't have to do it 3 times. So we did dengue. If you're also testing for chikungunya or Zika, you would mark that, close, save the results, and then if we go back into those pools and look at those aegypti, which ones were they? Oh, it's probably not going to show me because I submitted these to the state still. But it'll come up and it'll have a list of all the diseases that it was tested against. So under the target, so it'll have dengue, Zika, chikungunya, and then the status for all of those. But since I sent those to the state, I don't think it's going to update those for me. And so that's generally the process. So set your site, record your trappings, and then submit your pools to whoever's doing the testing. Do we have any questions or want me to dive deeper into anything? You open up the chat.
Yeah, I don't see any questions. And when I think that when you submit, the pool for testing at the state lab, and then the results are in, you'll receive an email. And I think I actually get an email as well, just to go back and check the results are ready. So that's pretty convenient. Do we have any questions? Okay, we have a question from Nick. How do you print the label to place them on the sample when submitting?
To the state. I've actually never done that. I'm not.
I think there is an option. I think I put it in the. There should be an option under. I think it was under manage pool submission.
Irene?
Yeah.
The UC Davis training that they did a couple of weeks ago, she has a whole section on YouTube on how to create the labels. So you can watch that on the YouTube site.
Okay, here they are. Pool labels.
Cool. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, and I think I want to update our manual with those new trainings. I think they came through. Yeah.
I'll look into that too, so I'm more familiar with it. But.
Yeah, and it's in the, Nick, you can also refer to this. And hopefully it hasn't changed, but when I wrote this a couple of years back on page 16, it shows you where the option for printing the labels comes. It should be under manage pool submissions and then actions, and there is a print and labels option there. But let us know if that doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, I did follow that.
Okay.
The labels come out kind of weird on there. It doesn't out. It doesn't come out like the way it does on there for some reason. Maybe we're doing something wrong, but the labels come out weird.
Okay, and you might have already asked me to, or told me that. Do you mind sending me like a screenshot or something, and I'll send it to the ArizonaSURV team and see if they can help you?
Yeah, we can do that. I'll see what we had before.
Okay.
I mean, we haven't tried it yet, but I mean, last year we were having trouble with getting it to show the exact data on. It was just coming out weird on there.
Yeah, if you have that issue again, let me know, and I'll see if we can get help. I'm sure there is a way because so many other agencies use it. Great. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to thank Daniel very much. Thank you so much for this.